My name is Frida Chepkemoi, an advocate. I head the legal department of an organization called Transformers CBO, and I also run an organization called Rural Project Support Facility. These two organizations work within Bomet and Kericho counties towards the welfare of the society. So we work with women and men who are supporters of women for the welfare of the society. As regards the situation of the issues to do with female genital mutilation, it has come to the shock of everyone that the society still embraces female genital mutilation. And what is crazy is that everyone terms it as mutilation, and still being called mutilation, it's being embraced. But all in all, we thank the proponents of the Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act, because were that act not in place, we would be witnessing very many instances of girls and women, both married and unmarried, undergoing female genital mutilation. In the society that I come from, that is the South Rift region of Kenya, encompassing Narok, Kericho, Bomet, and Bomet counties. Female genital mutilation is something that is part of the customary norms and is regulated by the customary laws of the Kipsigis people. And around FGM, there are issues to do with who are supposed to undergo FGM. What is the period that these girls and women undergoing FGM should stay? Who are supposed to visit them? Who are supposed to stay around the premises where that act is performed? It is an illegal act, we do appreciate, but it still goes on. And were it not for it to be reported the other day, people could not have known that this act still continues. The society is still silent about it. And as a community-based organization, it is our role to ensure that everyone knows that this act is still going on. And all the supporters of women and girls should come out and condemn this act. We witnessed the 22 girls. Out of these 22 girls, and I can call them women because they were aged between 21 and 31 years, 4 of them were aged 25 years, 4 24, 22 years, 21 years, 1 30, 32. Most of these women were married. And what actually made them undergo these acts was that they were going to host the young boys who were to undergo the circumcision. Mind you, for boys it's circumcision, and for girls it's mutilation. The people who support this act in our society are not only people who are proponents or supporters of barbaric and backward cultures that are not embraced in the Constitution and any other law. What is really funny and not encouraging at all is that the people who support these acts and who do not see any mischief with these acts are people who are learned, people who are exposed. And as a community-based organization, in our interaction with the society, these people who are learned and exposed that do not see any issue with FGM, most of them are not aware that the act is illegal, not just by practice or by saying, because the Prohibition of FGM Act stipulates very well that mutilation of girls and women is illegal. Not only the act of mutilating, even hosting, even allowing premises to be used, even holding tools that are used to perform FGM, it's illegal to have those tools. So the society, it's high time the society appreciates that this law is in place, and that any act that is prohibited in that act or statute is punishable by law. And we do appreciate the officers and the people who tipped the officers to go arrest those girls. It is really sad and not really encouraging that people who went to, or the officers who went to arrest those girls were really condemned by the society. To some extent, and as per the laws that I've previously stated, that is the customary law guiding female genital mutilation, it requires that any person who was not allowed to come around the premises where female genital mutilation was being conducted are supposed to be cleansed. And the punishment that is said to supposed to be inflicted on those people who came around those premises and were not allowed to be there and to arrest those girls are so high. You know, these are cultures that are repugnant to justice and morality. We do appreciate that customary law is part of our law, but to the extent that they are repugnant to justice and morality, they are not welcome. And when you look at the punishment or the penalties that are put in place, that were put in place previously but are still upheld when a girl doesn't undergo FGM, and when a person doesn't permit FGM to be done to girls and women, or when a person is involved in arresting women, those laws, women who and girls who underwent FGM, those customary laws set the threshold for penalties very, very high. And even some penalties indicate that you might die if you're not cleansed, that you're supposed to be cleansed if you get involved with these girls, or if you touch these girls, and many other cultures. Personally, I know I will be condemned because this is termed as exposing a culture or exposing parts of culture that are not supposed to be exposed. And for many people who have fought against female genital mutilation in the South Rift, and especially in Narok and around Narok and Transmara, they have been condemned. And there have been fearless men and women that have come out to condemn female genital mutilation, but they have been condemned. And considering the penalties that these cultures set, this causes people to be silent, because they know that if I expose this bad culture, if I expose this culture that is repugnant to justice and morality, I may die, or I may need to be cleansed so as to be accepted back to the society. So that is actually one of the main reasons why people are silent. They're silent because they fear the repercussions of the penalties of those female genital mutilation regulations and customary laws around female genital mutilation. You realize that there has been a rise, and you realize that most of the cases are unreported. As a community-based organization, where we come in issues to do with female genital mutilation is educating the society and making the society aware that there is an existing law against female genital mutilation. And it is not just enough to say that it's illegal. We have to go beyond explaining to these people the consequences of female genital mutilation. And these laws stipulate the punishment and stipulate the procedure upon which these people who are involved with female genital mutilation, who mostly are women, and also we have men who support FGM. And in our interaction with the society, we interacted with men who are exposed and women who are learned, and some of these men who are opinion shapers in the society support FGM. So this is one factor that will lead to actually the increase, because if opinion shapers in the society support FGM, if opinion shapers in the society condemn officers who went to arrest the girls and the mutilators, I call them mutilators myself, these are not circumcisers, they are mutilators. If the society or these men who are educated, exposed, who are supposed to be guiding the society, who are supposed to be ensuring that backward and barbaric cultures are faced away with, are the ones supporting FGM, it will be really hard to deal with it. And the good thing is that the law is in place. Perhaps the penalties of engaging or having to participate in FGM should be increased, because looking at these 22 cases, they were given a punishment of 4 months or an alternative fine of 20,000. This is someone that people can afford. This is some amount that people can afford, and this is people will see it as something that is not so serious. It's something that is still within us, and for us to be able to fight it is that punishment and the threshold for the penalties should be very high, in that any person who wishes to engage, to own tools, to allow FGM to be done within his or her premises should be aware that the penalty is so high, in that it will serve the deterrent purpose of the justice system. For Bureti, it shocked everyone, because this is an area within the Rift Valley that is considered as an area that is much far better in terms of enlightenment and empowerment of women. But now witnessing female genital mutilation at this era, at this age where we have no girls remaining at home, at this age where women have known their rights, at this age where the reproductive health system is improving, not that much, but we are much far better, and women are aware of their reproductive health rights, and where they can access reproductive health care. It shocked many. But as I have said, fighting female genital mutilation will not be easy, considering that the people who have come out, like us, the civil society, the women in the civil society, and the men who are supporters of women, and the men who condemn female genital mutilation are condemned. As I have said, there is a rise currently, and this rise we've learned from the interaction with the society that the leaders of the society and the people, or the old men and women, because in our society we really cherish old men and women, they have realized that the society is going south, and there is something wrong with the morals, the values that existed previously in the society. And FGM previously was seen as a way to tame girls, perhaps not to engage in or not to have multiple sexual partners, and people are revisiting cultures and practices that they view as being able to limit to limit sexual urge, perhaps because they see that these girls are becoming wayward, and that these girls are misbehaving, I can call it. It's really hard to draw the difference between morals and the rules and the law, but now they have realized that a way of fighting these promiscuity that the society is witnessing, it's all over the mainstream and the social media, that the society is not really doing well in terms of morals. So they view it, they see FGM as a way of curbing sexual desire in women without considering the consequences. The consequences are so dire, and these men who encourage FGM do not understand the consequences. The consequences go to an extent of because the whole, there are types of female genital mutilation, including removing the whole clitoris, partial, or sewing up the place. So the damage is so high, and the consequences are usually so high. So they do not understand that some women are even allergic to cats, and when some people who are allergic to cats get swellings around the area where the cat has been done. So some women end up swelling on those private parts. It's very unfortunate to say this, but no man is coming out to condemn these things. And this leads to married women being neglected, married women who have undergone FGM, and those who are allergic to such cuts. Some lead to, I can say, rotting of those private parts, because not everyone, when you have a cut, it heals very fast. It leads to infertility, excess bleeding, and in fact for the 22 women who underwent FGM last month, they really underwent excessive bleeding, and reviving their health status to normal will be so hard. So in terms of the numbers, this year there has been a rise, and some of the cases have not gone to the extent of being reported because of the silence, and because also of the general setup of the Kipsigis cultures and the Kipsigis practices. These are people who value order, silence, and respect to what is said. So if it is said that you're not supposed to speak about this, most people will follow. You're not supposed to talk about this. It is not supposed to be known. You're not supposed to go to the streets and riot. You're supposed to be organized. So these are cultures that have demeaned the rights, that have led to infringement of rights, because are people who heed to opinion shapers and who are led in a formal structure are expected to behave in a certain way, and know that there exists punishment, even if it is not written that there is punishment if you expose something. For example, FGM is something that is not supposed to be exposed in our society. They say tum nemwagimo, it's not supposed to be known by the outside people. So it is in embracing the law, it is in embracing religion that we will be able to fight. The previous years, we can associate the reporting and the rise of numbers and the society being aware with the upgrading of social media, with the availability of medium of communication. That is why we have been able to hear cases being reported, and that is why the outside world have known that female genital mutilation is being practiced in the South Rift of Kenya. Unlike before, we didn't have WhatsApp groups, WhatsApp pages, Facebook, Twitter, and all over. This information could just remain in a few circles, and people were still fearful of the repercussions. But as at now, the WhatsApp pages, the WhatsApp groups, the Twitter handles, and every other mode of communication that is now available have enabled people to speak out, and have enabled the people in the civil society and the supporters of men and women, the supporters of men who are supporters of women, to be able to speak out and condemn female genital mutilation. So it's not like there has not been cases previously. Cases have been there, and just that information has not been coming out clearly and reaching the people that female genital mutilation is practiced in the South Rift part of Kenya. So as a civil society, we ensure that these girls who are victims and these women who undergo the act of FGM are counseled psychologically and are condemned. It is not an easy task balancing between condemning an act that is being embraced in the society and educating the society, and still maintaining our frame in the civil society. Personally, I'm an advocate, and when I come out to condemn female genital mutilation, even in groups, WhatsApp groups, or even in public places, I'm told, we're tulikusomesha not to come and distort our cultures, not to come and oppose cultures that the old men and women were observing, cultures that led the society. So people who still embrace female genital mutilation view the learned people and the people who have come out to condemn FGM as, they even want to call them outcasts in the society and people who do not observe cultures. We do appreciate that there are aspects of culture that we embrace, even circumcision for boys, even teaching girls on the positive aspects of the culture is welcome. But to the extent that it's repugnant to justice and morality, to the extent that female genital mutilation rips off the dignity of women, rips off the right to life, rips off the right to reproductive health care, and all these revolve around the dignity of women. And this is something that we want to achieve by 2030, that women will be dignified in the society. It's not something that is being demanded, but we want it to be something that it will just come automatically. And FGM is one of the things that is degrading the dignity of women and girls in the society. And from this data that we have, from the reported cases, we realize that these women are married, and we realize that these women are of childbearing ages. And you can imagine the consequences that female genital mutilation has on a childbearing woman. You can just picture the mutilation of of that area. It's just sad. To some extent, even the whole structure, or do we call the whole labia, minora and majora, is removed, not only the clitoris, depending on the community. And also, we do realize that communities borrow from each other. So we have even those communities who are just removing the clitoris nowadays, having to remove the whole structure and just distorting it, sewing it up. In that, when it comes to that childbearing day, that woman has to undergo some cuts and some innovation, something that God did not create, something that has to be artificial. Childbirth has to be artificial, and it's really unfortunate. When we look at our leaders, how they've come out to condemn, most of them have not been so open because the society has not embraced their involvement in condemning female genital mutilation. What only protects them as at now is the law, because we have old men and women and even young men who still question and ask us, the young girls, why we are not undergoing FGM. They do not understand the consequences, as I have said, and the consequences are so dire. So we will have to call on each and every person. We have the individual capacities and obligation to come out and condemn, be it individuals, both men, women, and children, local leaders, spiritual leaders, political leaders, leaders of every kind, the church, the civil society, and everyone at large, the society at large, have to come out and condemn this act. And the only way that we will be able to fight female genital mutilation is explaining the consequences, explaining why it is not still necessary, and really explaining to them that it is against the law. And it is not in place just for flowers. I mean, there is a purpose why that act is in place. And people fought for it to be in place. So it's not that time to also mutilate the law and to also mutilate the act itself. So people have to understand that customary law is part of law in Kenya. But to the extent that it is repugnant to justice, it's already against the supreme law, that is the Constitution. So when we compare to other communities, how they have been able to deal with female genital mutilation, public awareness has been one thing that has been so material in dealing with female genital mutilation, and the involvement of the stakeholders. So, I'm sorry.